What's up? Hello, everyone. Before Steve says anything, it is not my fault. I didn't do it. Everybody keeps blaming stuff on me this week. It wasn't me. All right, Steve, what you got? What's going on with you, man?
I was like, where are you going with this?
Oh, I know what you're about to say. So I'm just letting everybody know ahead of time that you and Brandy blaming me for stuff. It's got to stop. It's got to stop.
Well, if you wouldn't be guilty of things, we wouldn't blame you for them. Hey, everyone. Um, we're here. I'm back home. I am sick again, and someone over there, I think, has now twice been an asymptomatic carrier.
See, I knew you was gonna try to put this on me. I knew you was gonna try to put it on me. But it wasn't me. I haven't been sick. Nobody in my house has been sick. You probably got that at a truck stop on your way home. That's probably what happened.
The funny thing is the first truck stop I was at was in northern Alabama. I think it was at a Love's. Stopped to get gas, and there's a big tour bus, and it looked familiar, but I'm like focused. I'm like, okay, get gas. Let's get back on the road. Let's not lose time. And it's a tour bus from Minnesota. And of course, I'm washing the windshield and such. The guy starts walking up to me. He's like, hey, you from Minnesota? And, starts doing the Midwest thing of chatting at me forever and whatnot. So, maybe it was them, bringing it back down. They were on their way to sunny Florida for something. But
I don't know, but I have a hard time believing that this was me. I mean, it's
well,
I'm not feeling like this is my fault. I think I've been wrongly accused again and unjustly blamed. So
now it's both Carla and I, and we work at a college. It was midterms. It's spring break this next week, so it very much could have been something from there. But yeah, it's I don't know. I gotta stop going to these events. I tried to be a little more careful this time. I had 2 types of vitamins. There wasn't near as many people. I didn't spend time in an airplane tube recirculating air. So yeah. But
I don't know. I'm thinking maybe we just need to I don't know. Maybe we need to start getting you some of those pre-deployment shots or whatever. So kind of like if you go overseas or whatever, you go get the antibiotic booster and everything.
Yeah. No. I don't know. I haven't had the flu in I don't know. I can't remember. It's been a long time.
3 times in the past year. That's what I'm going to say.
So yeah, other than catching COVID during the pandemic, I don't know. It's been a couple of tough times getting sick. I mean, full on fevers and not feeling great. So, but this one isn't being. At least I'm not stuck down in Arizona getting my dad sick and worrying about flying home. It's been shorter lived.
Well, I will say this. I don't think I've ever had the flu, and I don't think it's hard for me to believe that I didn't get that virus that was going around here a couple years ago. But as far as I know, I've never been confirmed that I had it. I did get sick that one day. I was sick for like a day.
Asymptomatic.
Had the sniffles and stuff. But I can't say that I've ever had any of that stuff. So the chances of me being the one that gave it to you, I think, are very, very slim. So,
well, I don't know, but
maybe I need to give you a couple of pints of this good stuff here, and you can maybe you won't get sick as much anymore. But
well, I don't know. Just I guess it's my year because I've had a good run for a little bit, but. This has been a little ridiculous, but yeah, it's kind of knocked me out the past couple of days. Finally felt somewhat human today. Did some light exercise because that's generally good as you're recovering. Plus, I've been trying to get back into that routine, and it was warm here. It's actually still like 52 degrees. It was near 60.
Why is the background messed up? Hang on, where's my background at?
It's warming up here. It's getting sunnier, so hopefully that'll help with a lot of this. But yeah, I it's slowed me down on getting my oh, hey, food's finally here. Boys will be happy. I'll be hungry. Slow me down on getting my video done, and also working on the new Omni One. You know, that showed up.
Yeah,
right before, like
you were literally trying to do a couple of tests on it as you were packing your stuff in the truck.
Well, yeah. I was loading up the van. It got dropped off. I made sure it was okay. You know, fired up a couple tests before hitting the road. But so that's kind of next on the docket. And yeah, so I'll get back on track soon enough. But hopefully I can find another 63 friends to subscribe to my channel, because I am super close to that next milestone
63,
of 20K.
Yeah, I need 85. So if you could have the 63 that you find, just tell them to go on over to my channel and click on mine as well. That would be helpful.
Yeah.
If I could find that, 84. If I could find the 84 subs that I need, I will gladly send them over your way, because I'm like 84 from being at 39,000. That's going to give me another 1,000 to get to 40,000. So I would really love to see 50 by the time I retire, but at the rate I'm going lately, I don't know that that's going to happen.
It's kind of, things have slowed down a bit the past couple months in a lot of metrics. So, you know, we're just
hanging in there like a rusty fish hook,
doing what we're doing and plugging along. So, but yeah, I have, like I mentioned when I was down there and before, I do have some projects in mind that I've been trying to work on. I don't have any of them here. Well, I don't know. I don't remember if I showed them before, but the video I'm putting out, it's literally just putting the final touches on the upload. It'll probably be up tomorrow morning. I made some keychains using leatherette, so kind of like these patches we make for hats. You know, it's very thin and flexible, but it's you've got all those flavors of two-toned colors, and I got a bundle of it. I've been highlighting that scratch acrylic from Great Carve. They also have what they call scratch leather, but it's leatherette. It's a synthetic leather like a lot of other places. So I had some of that. I had some typical leatherette. I had some adhesive leatherette, and tried making some keychains out of that, including adding a little bit of a spacer to stiffen it up on some of them. So they came out all right. And so I'll have that process and that video out. Like I say, should be out tomorrow. And I didn't mention it in the video, but I might even post up my my patterns that I used for the keychains out there. So hopefully people enjoyed that one. Did that one using the good old X-Tool S1 40 watt. Giving that one a little bit of a workout along with the AP2 down in the basement here, since it was a little cooler when I was doing it. But yeah, we'll be jumping back out into the main shop here with weather's warming up, and I can actually feel like it's okay to exhaust some of the fumes or some of the heated air along with the fumes in that shop. Get back on that bigger OhmTech machine and other things. So
I'm just now getting around some of these comments. Brian, hang on, let me. He is after me here lately.
Well, you did kind of give a haircut to someone brand.
I don't know that I did that. I mean, I'm gonna have to like plead the fifth here, and if it ain't on video, it's gonna be hard to convict me of this.
Well, if people are wondering what's going on,
still arguing.
If people are wondering what we're talking about, Clack has a second channel that he puts some of his more fun home stuff that's non-shop related, and his lovely wife Brandy was a little concerned about some of her plants that seemed to have gotten a bit of a haircut. And I distinctly remember pulling up to the Clack Shack compound, and Clack was zooming around, finishing up some yard work. He was so proud about having mowed and trimmed the yard. So it was all nice for me. I'm just saying that's very,
Well,
very suspect.
I did. I mean, because it's kind of like the women folks. They always want to clean the house when got company coming. Well, I'm kind of the same way. My yard had been kind of let go, because it's been winter. It's just kind of cold and just messy outside. You really don't want to be out there. But then, like right before we get ready to go to Georgia, everything starts like trying to bloom, and I got stuff sprouting up out of the ground. So it's like I got to hurry up and get this done, because if I don't, by the time I get back from Georgia, it's going to be a foot tall. And so that's what I did. But she swears that I did it with the weed eater. I can't swear that I didn't, but I don't recall doing it. Let's just put it that way.
Wow.
But yeah.
We'll I guess we might not ever find out. But
yeah, but there's a link if you guys want to check it out when you get a chance. If you're ever bored, that's where. And there's going to be a lot more stuff as I move toward retirement, because there's a lot of stuff that I used to share here on the Clack Shack channel, such as my bees and stuff like that. And me and Steve have talked about it. As far as the business side of things goes with the channel, there's a lot of you guys that may or may not like that kind of stuff, and so I don't want you clicking away from my videos. So I decided I'd create a whole nother channel. That way, if you like that stuff, you can go over there. If you don't, it's not going to hurt my statistics on this channel when you guys like click away because it's something that you're not interested in, like the bees or chickens or planting the garden. Because like this weekend, I actually got out there and helped Brandy, which she really didn't want me to, because I got to go back surgery in the morning. But we raked. I had some topsoil that I brought down with the tractor the other day from the backside of the chicken pen, because that's where everything goes to get composted, and then it winds up in the garden. And so I brought a couple of bucket loads of dirt down and put in the garden spot. And me and Brady got out there with the shovel and the rake and kind of spread that dirt out, letting it sit. It's getting a good raining on it right now. And then we got, my daughter wants to test the soil to see what we need. She wants to try that approach this year instead of me just going by my granddaddy's method of, just mix this and mix that. And so we end up putting, like, I'll get some sawdust from the sawmill, some compost from the chicken pen, because where I live, it's really, really dry. You've seen it. It's just sand. Like, it can rain 10 minutes later. It looks like nothing ever happened. So in order to keep plants growing, you kind of need something to absorb that moisture to get them through those summer days. And so adding the chicken compost and the sawdust from the sawmill helps give something in the ground to kind of hold that moisture. So those are things that we'll be talking about more in depth over on the other channel. So if that's the kind of stuff you're interested, growing your own tomatoes, having chickens, whatever, go check that one out. Hit the subscribe button on that one. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers on that one. And May has thrown down the gauntlet, because May has started herself a sewing channel. And she was telling me the other day that she's trying to get it to 100,000 subscribers. Which I told her, if she gets her second channel to 100,000 subscribers before I get to 100,000 subscribers, I'm going to throw eggs at her. Like, I'm going to egg her in the parking lot.
It's a good thing you have those chickens to provide them for you.
Yeah, well, that's what she said. She said, "You're not going to throw eggs at me; they're too expensive." And I reminded her I have my own chickens.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well,
I probably would crack them before I threw them, though, because my chickens have some pretty hard shells.
Well, hopefully that all works out. That you don't have to throw eggs at her, because that just sounds like a waste all around. So, but
well, she's one of those. You got to watch her.
Anyway, welcome everyone. Now that we've kind of chatted about the fun stuff, what we do here most Sunday nights is talk with you all and try to answer questions. So we've got a few that have come in already, so we're going to jump in on those. So if you have a question for us about lasers or CNCs or CNC routers, I should say, or maybe even 3D printers or anything else you've seen in our shops, go ahead and throw that out there. Start off with this one. Dixie May has got a question. The logo video you did today on the CNC, could you next demonstrate doing all that again, but with the laser this time? So I didn't catch that. What's going on there?
It was that CNC sign I did right before we went to Workbench Con. Yeah, I just throw some video. I had a bunch of B-roll that I caught, but I never did I never did the introduction or the exit, but I just kind of pieced it together with a little bit of voiceover. And
Was that the construction one on the plywood?
yes,
Okay.
yes. So yeah, I have similar files, Dixie, that I've done. There's a lot of my stuff. If you'll go back and watch some of like my shack lives, to where I'm just sitting in the shack working, you get to see me from start to finish designing stuff sometimes, whether it be a name, sign, or whatever. So there's a lot of videos out there, but yeah, I mean, if I can get caught up on some stuff after the surgery's over with, then sure, I don't have a problem with it. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of those already out there on my channel, as well as Steve's, on designing and cutting stuff in Lightburn. It's very simple.
Well, and I do want to. I've mentioned some CNC content that I've been planning, and there's going to be some comparative stuff. I want to take a project and kind of do it on the CNC router, and then also kind of they won't always be a replica. They won't have necessarily the same result, but how you would do the similar thing on the laser. So definitely love some of those ideas, and some of those paint filled or color filled signs are definitely going to be something that I've got some requests for, so I'm going to try to put some content together for that. So stay tuned.
We may have figured out what you need, Steve.
It's not okay. I will. Nope. Nope.
Chicken livers, apparently they searched it. Chicken liver is highly nutritious, providing essential vitamins and minerals such as vitamin A, vitamin B12, iron, and zinc, which all support immune function.
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty much overdosing on all those, so I don't think the extra dose from chicken livers is going to help with that. But
Oh man.
Jay Cloudfeather's got a question. Need laser to cut glass, engrave glass. Same for acrylic, clear, plexi, UV. 5-watt seems good choice. Is it enough? And then who is the best choice around 3 to 5K? I'm not. So I just got mine. I've only played around with it a little bit. Cutting glass is going to be probably the most questionable as far as consistency, as far as like different depths and different types of glass. Definitely UV is going to do well for engraving most materials. You've done a lot of engraving with acrylic. We talked about the cutting of acrylic, and that's one thing I was hoping to do more tests on and show some as well. So yeah, that is a laser that is going to do most of that for you. Best choice around 3 to 5K. I'm not sure you're going to find one in the 3K range, because I think the Commarkner Omni 1 is about the least expensive one you can find, and that starts right around 4, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
The Commarkner is like 4 and some change.
Yeah. So. And then they kind of go up from there. Haoshin has one. I think. This is going to be the bad night for me recalling things. What is it? Cloud Ray?
I think they have one. Don't make me lie, though.
Yeah. There's not as many options out there for that one. Yeah, they have a.
It's apparently too. Commarkner is fixing to come out with a 10-watt. I don't know if you got that email the other day, but they're releasing a 10-watt.
Okay.
10-watt UV.
So
yeah, it's like $8,000, but it's a 10-watt.
So yeah, I know the Cloud Ray one, that's $7,000 right now.
Apparently my feed did not go out to.
I have to look at
Facebook.
Trying to remember how much the
Commarkner was the cheapest. Yeah, Commarkner was by far the cheapest one. Last time I looked.
Okay, so yeah, in that range, well, it's about 5,200. The 5-watt Haoshin is about 5,400. So if you're looking in that price range, you're probably going to be limited to the Commarkner for right now. ones we're familiar with. But and again, I can't speak a whole lot to the cutting of glass. I know it can etch it, and probably are some settings over time to either, you can score and then cut glass that way, and or possibly do a actual cutting on it. But it's something that'll need to have some more testing. Dixie's got another question for a MOPA, OMTech, or Monport, or Com Marker. I have to pass that one to you. I haven't had a chance to play with anyone's MOPA.
Well, the only MOPA I have is the Monport, and it works fine. But I will tell you that the only real advantages to the MOPAs that I've seen is I think you get a little better interaction by adjusting the frequency and the pulse rate with materials. If you're trying to get into it for the ability to do color, just know that doing color is possible. But if you're just wanting to do one and get color, it's not easy. You've got to do testing, the temperature, the wind. I mean, there's a lot of variables to do in color.
Yeah.
I can't get consistent enough results to where I want to go doing a lot of it. It's just not worth it to me. Like I said, it's just a lot of testing for very little return. Unless you're batching these things out, doing hundreds of them, then it would be worth it.
Yeah, I think if you had a lot of designs and you had like 100 blanks of the same material, and you were going to crank out like 70 of something, you could do enough playing with the others, because that's the thing is.
Even then, though, like the thinner graphics, like if you have a real thin, let's say you're doing a bird, and the bird has really thin feathers, but then he's got real thick feathers that like are a lot more of an engrave.
Yeah.
The thinner feather is not going to do this, even with the same settings. That thinner feather is not going to be the same color as the thicker feather,
right?
Because the heat doesn't build up as fast in that short of a distance. So it's still a bit of a crapshoot, if you ask me. It's a gimmick, in my opinion.
I mean, it's
not saying you can't do it. It's just gimmicky.
Yeah, it's doable, but you got to be able to control things and kind of do, like you say, you got to do a lot of playing, and you'd probably have to break up your image. You might have two different settings for different spaces that need a similar color, one being thicker and the other one being thinner. So
yeah, it's like playing whack-a-mole.
Well, if you're diving into that, just plan on a lot of testing, a lot of material, and hopefully have a good plan for what you're working with.
Yeah, acrylics and wood are much more forgiving.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Stone says, thanks for the tip in breaking projects into sections to reduce dead space. Cut my project time in half. That's a good deal. Glad to hear it. Like I said, I like it when those little small things that come out of my mouth actually benefit people. It makes it worth listening to all the other stuff.
Gerald Grady's asking, do you do feet on your stove covers?
The little felt ones, yeah. I use these little felt feet.
Cool. So
I think these are like one inch circles.
So those are kind of like the kindling to really get the fire going.
It keeps it from scratching your counters. But these, I've bought cheap ones. I buy that. These are actually, I think these are the 3M ones. I buy them now in a big box. They're more expensive, but they stay stuck.
Yeah.
Some of the other cheaper ones fall off easy.
Yeah. I've had the same with some Velcro and other things. You want to get the good 3M adhesive on it, otherwise it fails over time.
Yeah, because I used to take them. I used to even take a heat gun and heat them up to get them to stick. Because some of the cheaper ones, and they'd still come off. But those seem to stick really good.
Well, Timmy B says, thank you both for both of you and True Flat. The material I wonder the Christmas giveaway has worked well. Thanks again. Yeah,
cool.
That's great. True Flat did send me some out. I did that initial video with the artwork. The I am drawing a blank on that. The patent artwork. There we go.
Patent.
Yes. with that material. And they've actually come out with a couple new styles. One of is like a pre-primed white, and then another one is like a marker board white. So those will be interesting. Yeah, I'm looking to play around with more of that material. It's very consistent and cleans up super easy. So glad that we could work with them, and some of you got some free packs to try out. If not, check out some of our videos, and this might be something you want to look into using on some of your, especially if you have a paying project where you really want some consistency. That's some good material for it. So
yeah, as long as you can, because it is a little more expensive than your traditional like 3mm, just like basswood or whatever, but it's a lot better material. But if it's a job that you can price it out to make it, it makes life so much better.
Well, yeah,
I will say that, because
yeah,
it's just the cleanup and the gluing and everything is just easy.
Well, and just the consistency of it, knowing, there's nothing worse than having a bigger project, real intricate project where there's like a knot or a glue spot that just, all you can do is start over, So if you've got a paying job that needs some consistency and you don't want to like waste your time or even cheaper material, it's worth having some better material for those types of things. Use the other stuff on the plane or the jobs where you can sacrifice some time or such. But
yeah.
Trade Skillers Anonymous. Hey JR, it's good to see you. I made it back home. David got me sick.
I did not get you sick. I did not get you sick.
But this is one of the things that was great. There's JR there. It was Don. There's a couple others that we got to meet that I know were viewers at Workbench Con. So that's some of the fun of some of these events. They're, David and I have been talking about, maybe we're a little traveled out right now, but whether this fall or, next year as he's retired, what are some other things that can be a little more inclusive and, get a better chance to hang out with more people, because it's always fun meeting people and sharing ideas and talking about things. So
yeah, that's to me, that's the best part is meeting people and socializing. Go ahead.
Oh yeah.
Step on you.
Yeah, no. It's like, that's what I was going to say is there's actually an event we talked about a little bit. It's in Catskills, I think October. It's called Maker Camp. And it's very hands-on. It's more of people coming together and like actually doing projects together and learning about different techniques and such. To me, that would be really cool. It's at a campground. Everybody just kind of sets up their various tents and booths, and you just kind of wander around hanging out, making things. So I think that'd be cool. I have to set up laser camp somewhere.
Yeah. Well, it's like I said, this Workbench Con wasn't as big as the last one as far as the number of people that were there and everything.
Yeah.
But it was fun, but it was quite expensive. And my I guess travel and pleasure stuff budget is not that immense. So yeah, I'm pretty much tapped out my budget for this year, unless it's something like a drive to. I do know that sometime this summer I'm supposed to be heading over to Greg's STL Woodworking. He's asked about coming over there and hanging out for a little bit when he gets his new shop up and going. So, that to me, that's an easy trip, because I can drive there, stay the night in a motel somewhere nearby, and then drive back.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not in Atlanta or Las Vegas. It's in a place that I can hopefully get a motel room a little cheaper. So
it's
worst case, I just drive back.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's a little what he's Northwest Georgia, so it's
he's about the same as Atlanta.
It's far enough away from Atlanta, but yeah, kind of in that area. So yeah, who knows? Depending on when that is or what I've got going on, if I feel like getting sick again, maybe I'll come down too. Larry, no, I didn't. I didn't go through Chattanooga, so that's not, I did not pass on David's illness via that. So,
oh, it ain't even mine.
Well, if I say it enough, I think it will be.
See, I don't somebody asking quick poll, who else besides me's heard of a stove cover? There's actually lots of folks that heard of them. There's like 3 people that live here in Alabama that I know of that are selling them. Like I got one buddy. He works up in a clear up here above me. He sells them over there. There's another guy that actually watches the lives a lot of times. You can chime in if it's you, but he sells to actually one of the places that's near me, because he called me. He's like, "Hey, are you working these guys?" And I'm like, "No." He's like, "Well, I was going to ask him, but I didn't want to, I didn't want to get in your area." And so I told him, I said, "No, that's fine. Go ahead." And so he's selling them over there too. And then there's Jack. Jack, there you go. Jack said he's been making a bunch of them.
Yeah.
It's a thing. People don't. It's one of those things that people don't know they want until they see it, and then they want it.
I mean, certain places they do, and there are people on Facebook Marketplace up here selling them, but yeah, it wouldn't work in our kitchen because I'd have nowhere to put it when I needed to use the stove, so it would just be in the way constantly. So that's my thing with them.
See that stack? See that stack over there on top of the table saw with that cutting board beside it? Yep. That's right. Did that this weekend. Those will be Brandy will be delivering those this week because I'm gonna be out of commission. But
yeah,
you never know. You never know.
Let's see.
Yeah, some people call them noodle boards. I've heard them called a couple of different things. But yeah.
Robbie's mentioning, have you guys seen X-Tool has some sort of new metal fab machine coming out soon? Yeah, they announced that actually the day we were traveling over to, it was just over a week ago. We were traveling over to Atlanta. Kind of a mixture between a laser welder and a plasma cutter, from what I understand.
Yeah, it has like a plasma CNC table built into it too. If I had room, I might want to try that one. But
yeah, I mean that's one of the areas, metal plasma cutting basically. There's been like the Langmuir machines out there, and a few others. Lincoln has a big, expensive one, and there's, a lot of people have custom made them from other CNC machines, and I'm like, oh, that'd be really cool. But for me, I don't even have a good like welding spot in my shop. It just wood shop and welding don't mix well.
Yeah, that the dust and stuff. You'd have to have like a dedicated little area for it.
You would. So it intrigues me, as well as my X-Tool contact reached out to me saying, hey, do you want to do a kind of like a highlight video, which I tend to shy away from those because basically they're wanting me to market it for them. They're wanting me to take their language and just say, hey guys, this is coming out from X-Tool and it has these features and it looks really cool. And I hate to do that because I without getting my hands on the machine, I don't want to really be promoting something that could be garbage. Now with X-Tool, generally it's not, but again, I try not to be a marketing arm for people. I try to be an information arm,
Oh yeah, I got one.
So
I got one this week that kind of put me back because I did the review on the Atom Stack, and then there's this other company that's like, oh, what they're saying is not, blah 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 blah, and I'm like, what? So they're like, you should, and I'm like, you know what? You just hurt yourself with me because you're trying to tell me something about a video that I did for somebody else, and you know what I mean? It's
right.
Like they're like, you should do a head-to-head comparison between our two machines, and I'm like, okay, first of all, there's so many differences between your two machines, it's not fair. You know what I mean? Right. I mean, if you had like two identical vehicles, you know what I mean, or two identical something and others, and only one thing was different, you can do that. But it's hard to do that when there's so many differences. But yeah, it's a company I've worked with a lot, and I was actually shocked that they sent that. But I was like, really? I mean, you gonna, throw shade on somebody else's machine?
Yeah.
It wasn't X-Tool that did it, by the way. Before somebody says it wasn't. It was one of the smaller companies.
Yeah, I always try to base my videos on my experience with a project, a process, or equipment and such. And so I really don't like doing them unless it's something I personally am excited about and want to talk about. Like, hey, I have this project in mind. I have this tool in mind. This looks really cool. But yeah.
Jeffrey's asking, do either of you have interest in a water jet? A water jet would be something that I could use here in the shop, I guess, as long as it's got like a reservoir that you fill up and then it runs from there.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't mind it. I've always been kind of curious of those things. It would be more suitable in here than something with an open flame or lots of sparks. So I'm not against one of those, but man, those things are expensive.
Yeah.
I saw Sam's got that one, and I like what he does with it, cutting aluminum and cutting, marble and stuff like that. They are going to be tearing down an old courthouse here in town here soon. And there's some like 3/4 inch thick marble all over the walls. And I did tell them that in the event that they were going to just bulldoze that, let me know and I'd come get that out of there. And if they did that, then yeah, I'd go buy me a water jet so I could cut that stuff up. But yeah, that's another one of those technologies that when I get more room, I would not mind playing with. But right now, I mean, y'all see what I got going on. I got no room for nothing.
Yeah.
Like something has to go before I can bring something else in.
That's one of the things where I would love to have a friend close by that has one, because it's the kind of thing that I feel like I occasionally would love to use, but like you were mentioning, it just right now it would kind of get in the way of some of my other workflow and such. But it's always, it's kind of the same thing with a plasma table. It's like I would love to have the ability, have access to one to be able to use one on occasion, but it would really get in the way of everything else. So yeah, if space and money weren't an issue, you'd need a golf cart to drive around our shops.
Oh yeah,
all the toys we'd want to have.
Yeah. Larry's asking, have I made noodle boards out of hardwoods like walnut, maple, and cherry? Yeah, the first few I actually made out of oak, and it was oak that I cut on my sawmill. I dried it, and it had like a hickory. I had like oak with hickory strips inside it, and I biscuited it all together and joined it and made my own big panel, and made them that way. And the first, I don't know how many, but the first whole bunch of them that I made, that was how I made them. And then when this company reached out to me and said, we want to get these made, but we don't want to spend but this much money, I told them, you've limited yourself to basically pine or whatever equivalent they have, because for what you're wanting to pay, you're not going to get oak. It's just not going to happen. So yes, I make them out of whatever. If somebody wants to buy the material, pay for the material, I'll make them out of whatever. I make them out of Purple Heart if that's what they want, but they got to be willing to pay for it. And you start getting, because you not only do you have to buy the material, so you're going to have to buy, if you get 6 buys, now you've got to take those 6 buys and you've got to turn those into a 20.5 inch wide plank, basically. And so there's a lot of dado and going into it as far as like the biscuits and stuff like that. And then putting it together, and you can run up a price really, really quick. So nobody really wants to pay that kind of money unless it's like, I don't know, high end. I've did 2 or 3 for like families that their kids were buying their first house together or whatever, to where they were like, okay, I'm not worried about how much it costs. This is what I want. Okay. But typically people are just, hey, I just want pine.
Travis at Dark Forest Made Designs is asking, what's the best way to weigh down an easy up canopy? Well, in my experience, if you have the opportunity to be on grass, the best thing to do is get yourself some of those, either get the RV awning screw in things, or the pet tie out, so they're like a big corkscrew that you twist into the ground, and then get yourself some ratchet straps, pull it down on the corners.
Woo!
Hey, I've been at a lot of model aviation events. You never know when that gust of wind's coming up. Well, you talking about that sandy soil down in Alabama and Georgia. I've seen some pull plugs out with that after a rain, but that's kind of the best way to do it, is just really tie those down, and then I use some ratchet straps to get that to really weigh it down or to anchor it down.
See, I don't use ratchet straps. I just use the rope, but my years of doing woodworking or tree cutting and everything, I know all those cool knots. So it's just like,
yeah, well,
and my years in Boy Scouts.
Just easy thing that the average person can get a hold of and use. If you're on concrete, some of them will it's great if you can get some of them actually come with a metal plate that will kind of twist onto the foot. And then if you can get like a sandbag or something, put it on there. Just be careful you're not making a tripping hazard either with the rope or the strap or that sandbag. But those are the few ways. But yeah, you got to watch out for those windstorms that come up when you got those easy ups out. I've seen some pretty big box kites go up from those things.
Yeah, we have the trampoline is the Alabama State bird. I don't know if you knew that or not.
And also too, just from experience, if you find yourself doing a lot of outdoor events and using that a lot, go and find a good commercial shade tent for two reasons. They're going to be heavier, so they're going to have a little more weight to them, but also they tend to have replacement parts available, and they're not riveted together. They're usually bolted together. So if you bend a leg or bend a support arm, you can often replace it rather than chunk the whole thing in the garbage and have to go buy a new one. So it's what I bought a few cheap ones and then learned the bigger ones, the more you use them, they're worth a little bit of the money. So
yeah.
Acquisition 13 is asking, with a 10-watt laser, what's the deepest you can cut through material? I have a MechPow 10-watt diode. Well, this is going to be one of those that depends questions.
Depends on the density of the material you're cutting.
Yeah. So if you're talking plywood, you can get through 1/8 inch. It's going to take a couple of passes and not a lot of speed. If it's a lighter weight craft plywood, you could probably get through 1/4. Otherwise, you're talking like your lighter weight density woods like basswood and poplar. You can get through 1/4 inch, but again, you're going to it's going to be a plane of speed and air and some multiple passes. It also depends on what are you calling cutting through. I mean, because there's a lot of people say, hey, I can cut through. You see the laser manufacturers. This can cut through an inch thick material in one pass. And you're like, okay, I did that, but it looks like I took a plasma torch that just is jagged. Yeah, it's just a slag filled mess. Versus a nice, clean, usable cut that's not, junked up or charred. Also helps, the other thing when cutting through thicker material with whatever diode you have, you got to remember that the focus comes down to a point and then goes back out. So you want to try to get that center of that kind of hourglass in the middle of your material. So a lot of the focus tools are for a surface, like if it's setting the focus on the top of the material. And so then your focus point's right on the top, and then it starts getting wider, which is making it less effective the deeper it goes through. If you move that down halfway, you're going to have a more effective cut all the way through it. So do a little playing with that. So like if you're trying to cut through 1/4 inch material, bump your focus down 2-3 millimeters. It'll help out a lot.
Oh yeah. If you can get it, you need to go half the thickness of your material. Now you can always get it with some of these machines because of the shrouds or whatever, but yeah. Greg says that thanks again for the focus tool. It has helped immensely. And I'm thinking he's talking about the focus tool for the X40 or A40. I don't know if it's the same thing, but we were talking about the other day. He took the shroud off of his, which is what I did. And it creates a problem focusing it. So I created my own little focus tools, and I gave him a copy of that the other day. So apparently it worked out for him.
So most of the Atom Stack ones, they come with like a tool that if it's flat, it's with the shroud on. But if you rotate it so it's the long way, that's usually the focus depth for without the shroud as well. So double check if your machine usually will state something to that effect. It might be another way to find it too.
Yeah. Fred said he went to Cody's shop on Friday. What a great guy. So.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, he was I think he posted he was selling some stave barrel staves or something like that. So yeah, Cody's a great guy. I mean, I've been talking about him for years with you as well, and so always fun when you can kind of connect with people and hang out, go visit someone's shop and such like that.
Yeah, and and no offense, Cody, but since he hasn't got it made yet, I'm having to put me together a 1/8" bit kit. I ordered these from Speed Tools because I've been trying to test this little tiny machine over here that can't handle the 1/4" bits, and so I also got me some Genmitsu O flutes for playing around with. Yeah, for playing around with some aluminum. So yeah,
cool.
And these are actually, the cool part about it is Genmitsu ain't gonna be hating on me because they're actually made by Genmitsu. So
yeah. Well, Steve Rossman's asking, laser engraved a few clock faces from red oak and cherry. Wondering what you guys' thoughts are for a good way to finish the face and make it look the best. Thinking of spraying it with shellac. So this will be a little bit personal preference, what you're looking for. Anytime I'm engraving something and then finishing it afterwards, a spray-on finish is good. Otherwise, I like using just like an oil finish. Anything that's brush-on it's not going to go well through the engraving. Shellac is nice because it's less harmful to you. It's quick drying. It'll have a little better buildup. So if you're looking for some durability or maybe a like you can actually see the finish, maybe what am I trying to say? It adds more of a sheen and whatnot to it. Whereas I kind of like using it's like an oil, like a like a tung oil or yeah. This is not a good night for me. I'm still kind of I'm half on medication and whatnot, so I'm trying. It'll come to me in a minute, but
you got tung oil, and then what's the other? The burnt. You got me blocked now.
Oh, come on! You're supposed to back me up on this.
Yeah, I can't remember I don't use a lot of those because it's just not. I don't do as much of that.
Well, again, it kind of comes back to it comes back to your preferred finish. Danish oil. That's what I was trying to think of. And see, for a lot of my things, I like more of a kind of a natural finish, and a lot of times the oil will bring out the figure of the wood, but it can also increase the contrast of the wood, which can actually have a negative impact on your engraving. It can kind of reduce the contrast there because it'll darken the wood a little bit depending on the oil you use. So
yeah, this stuff works pretty good in like applications like you're talking about, where if you tried to brush it on, it like piles up and gobs. I have better luck with this.
Yeah, you just got to be careful on.
But if it's like a 3D engrave,
yeah.
I would just go with the spray can.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's like a wipe on poly where you might need to like. It's not going to absorb as much. It'll be a little tricky to kind of get it out of there, but
this is my. I use this more than anything.
Sure.
Because it doesn't cause the wood to turn colors. So if you've got a wood and you want to keep it the color that it is, this does not cause it to change colors.
Over time, though, polyacrylic will yellow over time if it's exposed to too much sunlight. Just be aware.
Yeah. This is going to yellow.
Yeah, that'll yellow right away.
Like almost quick. This works really good for the laser projects because I paint them in flat black because the flat dries faster, and then I go over them with this matte and it gives them that gloss. But this stuff, if you use it on bare wood, it will yellow also. But these are my three rattle cans that I use typically.
Careful, someone's gonna accuse you of being like me with glues.
Well, I've got more finishes over here if you need me to bring them over there.
Right? That's what I'm saying.
Don't even get me started on the stains.
Yeah, I'm not much of a stain guy.
Oh, I've got all kinds of stains. I got that shelf over there. The bottom 2 racks is just slap full of stains. I love me some stains.
Rob's asking, I'm getting a lot of charring when cutting MDF. Do I need to increase the speed and do more passes, or reduce the power and do more passes?
It's MDF. I mean, I hate it, but I mean, it's true. MDF is going to give you a good bit of char, but the reason is it's like there's glue all throughout MDF, so like it's like 98% glue and 2% wood, and so you're gonna get the black. I mean, it's just gonna happen.
Well, so I'm curious if it's charring or if it's the vaporization stuff, the staining. Because I would say on my MDF cuts, that's what I don't like about them is you get a lot more, like you're saying, those resins and those glues break down, and then you get a lot of that vaporization staining on it versus an actual like burnt charring along the edge. And with MDF, that's just unfortunately it's hard to avoid that. You know, if you can play with your air a little bit, ideally, if you have a laser that's powerful enough to cut it in one pass, you can play with your air usually to get fairly clean cuts. MDF, if you got to do multiple passes, it's really hard to get away from that charring. So
yeah,
I've done it in the past where I've put like a masking down on it just so I get a clean cut. But there again, I don't like to do that too often. You really don't want to sand MDF, so that's not an option like the others. So
one thing that you could try, it depends on. I was gonna show you this right quick. This is see, that's flat paint, but it's covered with that 2X, so it makes it pop. But one thing that you can try, and it might work out better for you. I don't know. You can try it. See, it depends on your material. If it's something that you're going to paint or you're going to use to build with, if you spray it with a little bit of polyacrylic or some kind of fast drying clear coat, then after you cut it, it's less likely to absorb that staining into the material and stain it as bad. But it's a 50-50. I have done that especially with some of just plain MDF. I'll clear coat it first when I'm trying to cut things out of it, especially if I'm trying to do like an image engraved where there's going to be a lot of soot. And I have good luck of getting it off there. But as soon as you take it off the laser, you need to hit it with some compressed air or something. Don't touch it, because if that soot will like bond to that wood unrealistically fast. But now I will say this: the stuff that we're using from True Flat, if you like MDF and you want to use something that's really stays clean, you might want to give that True Flat stuff a try for stuff if you're doing things that you want to be pristinely clean, because it does a good job.
Yeah, it cleans up easy.
Yeah, or use pre-finished materials. Like I moved my P2 back in line, and I was just running some tests to make sure everything was working like it's supposed to. This is some pre-finished plywood on the P2, and you can see that there's no soot, there's nothing on it. But the reason is this was pre-finished, so this had a clear coat on it before I engraved it. So what that does is allows you, like I said, I just take rubbing alcohol, spray the material with it, and wipe it. And that stain just wipes right off of it. So that's one benefit of using pre-finished material, or just finish your material yourself before you cut it, and you'll get the same result.
Yep. So I kind of jumped over this one. Cornbread's asking, I'm currently looking at the Genmitsu 4040 Pro. Is it better to run a router on it or the spindle? I would think both of us would say you want to, if you're talking about the little 300 to 500 watt spindle that comes with them, great for just getting started with little 1/8 inch bits, but you really want to upgrade to the trim router. And if you're looking at that one, take a good look at the Pro Max that already comes with it. It also has a more rigid Z-axis mount as well on the gantry. So you'll like that a lot better. It can run true 1/4 inch bits. The other one comes with a collet for one, but you have to run them so slow that it's frustrating. So I think both of us would say plan on a router if you get the Pro and get the mount for it, or just look at the Pro Max that comes with one.
Yeah, I was gonna do a demo right quick, but it ain't gonna have time to dry. So never mind.
Steve B is asking, what's your favorite blue or other masking tape that sticks to wood and the CNC doesn't take it for a trip? I like the green frog tape. That it's got a little bit of flexibility, and it sticks well, but doesn't it doesn't pull apart as easily. Some of them are a little more papery. So for like doing the double hold down method with CA and masking tape, that's the one I use a lot for that one. Plus you can find it in thicker sizes as well as most blue tape, but I've used both. But yeah, for a lot of my general stuff, I go with the green frog tape.
Okay, so he's asking about hold down.
Maybe
It
says sticks to the wood and the CNC, so I'm guessing that's
yeah, but it says sticks to the wood, and the CNC doesn't take it for a trip. So I didn't know if maybe
it could be the or on the top stuff. Yeah, okay. So if it's the top, if you're using it as actual masking, the aura mask stuff is really what you want. Yeah, Chuck brought up linseed oil. That's another one that's good.
That was it. That was the one I was thinking about because they
linseed
have
oil, Danish oil. Both of those are really nice ones.
Yeah, because you have like burned linseed oil and then just like regular. I think that was the one I was thinking about. I couldn't. It was just right there.
Yep.
Jack said that I clear coat all my projects before I laser them. Then I can spray it with black paint, and it will clean off the clear coat real easy. Okay, yeah, he's talking about like he can put black paint down in the engraves. But yeah, if you clear coat stuff before you start messing with it, anything that gets on it is a lot easier to get off after.
Yeah,
and that's.
Some people even paint, if they're doing a multicolor thing, they'll paint their wood before cut it out. And then, it's usually just a little bit of a wipe down if there's any vaporization.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I was going to try to find a piece of that pre-finished. I had an extra scrap piece of it. I threw it away, but I was going to show you how easy that stuff cleaned up.
Fred's asking, I see some CNC engraving that the detail in the pockets are dark. Is there a way to darken CNC engraving? A lot of times when people do that, they're using that aura mask covering and they'll do the engrave and then they'll go back and either paint fill or you can use, usually it's going to be paint, but you could use various methods just to try to hit the areas that have been exposed. Generally what you want to do though is you do your engrave with your aura mask on, you'll give it a clear coat and that seals the pores and seals the grain from soaking it through, and then you'll come back and you'll apply your coloring usually in a paint method, or some people do like an epoxy fill kind of thing like that too. So another way is to you can engrave the whole thing, put a coating on everything, and then just do a skim top over it to reveal the surface of the wood. But yeah, there's a couple ways, but usually they're adding color to it, but they mask it first.
Yeah. And I just did a video on that. Matter of fact, this is the piece that I did. And I masked it, engraved it, and sprayed it with paint. Well, the first thing I did was clear coated it before I hit it with the black. Then I hit it with black. Then I went back, touched up just a little bit with a sander because for some reason my aura mask always weeps in a couple of places. And then I stained the piece of plywood. So, yeah. It's fun stuff.
Sleepy Hollow Woodworks is asking thoughts on borax or other materials to make the laser darker. We've talked about this a little bit in the past. I'm not a fan. It's usually just kind of making you're darkening that material, and some of it gets kind of soaked into the wood, but a lot of times it's a very messy, like you can't touch it. If you try to like clean it up afterwards, you kind of have to engrave it and then seal it. It's, it works for some people, but it's nothing that I would rather use the right type of material and the methods to do it, or, do like the mask it. You can do the same thing that Clack did with the CNC there. You can mask off your material, you can laser it, seal it, and then color it. As long as it's a laser safe masking that you can burn through.
Yeah, you can also use transfer tape. As long as you're
Well,
ventilated. I don't know what's
the
in
right
I
type
don't know
of
what's in.
transfer tape. Some of
Yeah,
those have vinyl in them.
I was going to
So
say the stuff that I've got is made for lasers, but you have to. It's like a specific one. There are some, and I've found that out. There are some that you probably don't want to be engraving inside your house.
and this is one of the tricks that we talk about, as Jack brings up. Defocusing the
Yes.
laser, much like we were talking about making it more efficient with cutting, bringing that focus down into the material. If you bring it up, it weakens the effectiveness at the focal point, so it's going to kind of smolder more than cut and ablate. So you can get a darker engrave by defocusing your laser a little bit. So thanks for bringing that up, Jack. That's a good tip to remind people of.
Yeah, there's three dynamics to CO2 and blue diodes. It's not just speed and power. There's speed, power, and focus, because you can tweak any one of those threes and get a different result.
Mm-hmm.
So, there you go.
Yeah, he had well, this is the first part of that. Would you rather use the good birch from Home Depot or actual Baltic birch for a product? Kicker is that the Baltic birch is literally 2 times the cost. My experience, well, unfortunately, Baltic birch used to be a lot cheaper, so I got addicted to it. I'm starting to run out of some of my stash that I've had, and it's gonna hurt the pocketbook when I go to restock it. But this goes back to kind of, I'll practice on some of the other stuff if I'm just kind of prototyping some things, but when I'm actually going to sell something, I'll probably reach for a better material. Also, the local stuff I get from Home Depot is not good. Not all big box stores stock the same material or have it for the same price. So what you might find down in around Clacks area at Lowe's and Home Depot, I might not be able to get up here. So yeah. Now there are the Pure Bond project panels, and I wish I could get them in the larger panels. I need to maybe go back to Home Depot and ask them. Home Depot sells them in like a 10-pack, and they're like a birch or a maple. They have a few different, like 5 different veneers to them, and then it's a very lightweight MDF core. That stuff's really good, but again, it's a premium, kind of like buying the TrueFly material. So for me, I tend to go with more consistent product that I know is going to work well, even if it costs me a little bit more. So I have fewer failures and fewer issues. And just factor it into your price of whether it's a project you're doing for yourself or what you're going to charge someone else.
Yeah, I can't say, because I don't order a lot online as far as like wood goes. So I usually end up using stuff that I get here locally. But rugby, I don't know about the stuff that I've gotten from Lowe's and Home Depot. I was very disappointed in, other than some of the MDF and stuff like that. There are for some applications, the Luan and stuff works as long as you don't mind the inconsistencies. But I've started getting my stuff from this rugby, and I've had really good luck with it. Now, internally, it still has voids occasionally and all that, but all in all, it's harder to cut, so you have to have a little bit more power to cut it. But when you get it cut, it's really solid and does a good job. And that's what I'm trying. I found a piece of the scrap of the pre-finished, and I'm actually cutting a little chunk of it out where I can show you what I'm talking about here.
That's the thing is, we've recommended that in the past too, is look for, hardwood or plywood dealers, maybe building suppliers, not your big box Home Depots and, your retail stores, but maybe more of your building supply people or hardwood dealers in your area. They're probably going to have access to better woods. Oftentimes you can get them at sometimes a better price than what Home Depot has. So
yeah, because like right here, I bought 10 4x8 sheets of pre-finished, and 10 4x8 sheets of just standard without the finish. The pre-finish was $22.40 a sheet, and the unfinished was $18.74 a sheet. Uh, so, and like I said, I bought 20 sheets at one trip, and I'm still using it. But to me, that price, as long as it's good and works for what I'm doing with it, that's awesome pricing. Because I can get a whole lot of 16 by 16s out of a 4x8 sheet of material for 30. I actually cut mine. What is it? 17 and a half by 35 for my big enclosure.
Yeah.
And I'll show you what it looks like in just a second.
Todd's asking, can I use two honeycombs together side by side, same size? I mean, you can. You just got to be mindful that a couple things with that. You're going to have that slight 0.5 millimeter variation in the middle where the frames are at. And that's also going to be a spot where if your laser runs over it, you're not going to have that kind of airflow. You might have more flashback and staining in that area, but you definitely can do that if that's what you have access to or need. You just might want to plan around trying to avoid having to work in that area, or maybe elevate things for jobs that are bigger, something like that. But it's there to help prevent the flashback and keep airflow moving. If you have a spot in the middle where it's a little bit thicker like that, you just might need to plan on that's where you're gonna have to do a little extra cleanup and such. MS Manual is asking, what's your experience with cameras on lasers? My ASMR P3 seems like it's slightly off from what the camera shows. Recalibrated the camera a couple times, but I have to rely on framing to align. You got to remember, it's a single camera, so it's never going to be perfect across the entire bed. The other thing to keep in mind is when you calibrate it. Now my P3 came with the little dot board on a piece of foam board, which actually helps you get closer to a better calibration for, roughly 3 millimeter material. But if you're using just the paper method and you're calibrating flush to your cutting surface, but then you put in, say, 1/4 inch material, you're automatically going to be off a little bit because it's actually closer to the camera. So calibration is going to get you close, but realistically, unless you're dead center right down below the camera, even then you might still be a millimeter off. So my experience with cameras is they're great for roughly aligning things to use up material. But if I've got a small object like this and I want to put something dead center, I'm going to be needing to use an alignment jig rather than a camera to do it.
Yeah, you're at least going to have to throw you a piece of old scrap material in there and do a scratch line or something.
Yeah.
Like I said, I did a short the other day on using plywood to make jigs. And I put a link in there. I did a video on cameras. And like Steve said, cameras are handy. They're really handy to have. But they are a tool. They're not they're not the cure for all your problems. They'll get you really close, and sometimes you'll get lucky, and they may hit dead center. But the same camera and the same setup next week, it may be a millimeter off. There's a lot of a single camera setup. There's a lot of issues with that. If they had 4 cameras or 3 cameras, they could get it a lot more precise. Now, one of the exceptions to the rule, of course, is the P2. The P2, the way the camera set up is in it with that close camera that's on the head itself that goes right above where the cut is. You can get really good accuracy with it. Now, it's not perfect, but really, really good.
Well, the other thing the P2 does is if you accurately measure your material first, it also does an offset based on the thickness of the material. So it's taking multiple measurements into the equation to try to be as accurate as possible. So yeah, that one is better in that vein. And or if you've got like Enclosure Zilla where Clack's got the lifting bed, his point of focus is always going to be he can move the bed so that his point of focus is always at the same plane and relative to the camera. So that's when that distance moves from that camera, you're going to have aberration, and then when it moves away from the center point of the camera, you're going to have some as well. So they're great, but you got to have tempered expectations of what what you're going to get out of them.
Yeah. Yeah. And go watch that movie, watch that video that I
Is
put
it
the
that
link
long?
to right there. No, it's not that
Is there
long.
an intermission?
No, it's not a halftime show. But yeah, it's like I said, they're tools. They're very accurate. And matter of fact, in just a second, I'll be able to show you guys because I was actually cutting something out over here to demonstrate this pre-finished material. So as soon as this gets through, what I'll do is I'll update my overlay and show you how accurate. Now, this is probably the most accurate camera that I've ever seen on a light burn setup. But I'll show you how accurate my camera is once this finishes. What up? There he is, the man, the myth, the legend, the hero, Cody. I was talking about
Cody.
you earlier, Cody. You made me have to buy some speed tool bits for my little 1/8" machines because I needed an O flute in 1/8. So
Also Clark got me sick again, so
I didn't get you sick. Hey, now you did see Cody while we were in Georgia. He may have brought that back to you. He may have regifted it.
Regifted. Perhaps.
He probably saved like some of his dirty hankies or something from when he was sick and stuck them in your pocket when you weren't looking to get that back to you.
Uh-huh.
He said, here you go. You can have this back.
Well, if that's the case, I'll forgive him. Turnabout's fair play. There was a question up here. Where did I? Sorry, I'm trying to make sure we don't miss too many of the questions. There was one about.
Well, if we do miss your
here we
question, post it again.
Are you aware of any substance that can be applied to a softwood, say a pine board, that will make the top quarter to half inch the same density as hardwood? Not explicitly. There are some resins that are called like stabilizing resins. These are used more in like carving or turning, or even like CNC carves, where you'll soak the object in this resin, and it goes in and soaks into the wood, and then a lot of times they'll do it in a vacuum as well to really draw that into the wood, and then you pull it out. You have to bake it, and then it hardens it up. So if you have a real like a punky wood that's maybe a little like a spalted wood that's maybe rotted a little too much, but it's got that cool color and you want to salvage it, turn it into something, you can use this, but it generally soaks into the whole wood and then you would carve it out. It would be it would be hard to say just apply that to the top 1/8 or 1/4 inch layer though. So
Steve, Greg says you can't be sick again.
Well, I am. So is my wife.
Oh, look at that! Hey, we got royalty in the house. Look at that.
Hey,
Mr.
Hamilton.
Mr. Hamilton himself. All right. Hey. There he is, guys. But while I'm thinking about it too, let me show you guys this.
Yeah, show us your demo.
I just got through cutting this and engraving it. All right. So I updated my overlay. You can see it's close. It's really, really close. Because if you zoom in, that's not very far. But to me, that's really, really good for a camera. So if your camera is that good, it's doing what it's supposed to. So don't expect a whole lot out of them. The purpose of the camera is so like this little piece right here and this piece right here. I was just trying to avoid when I cut this material. I wanted to avoid this, and you'll see. Let me back up where I put that in the work area. You'll see this one where I cut this piece out earlier. You can see it got really close. So that's what it's for. I know that if I wanted to cut, like if I wanted to put a little circle right here with this machine, and I wanted to cut something out of that little area right there, or just make a mark, whatever, I know for a fact that I can go over here, I can click that, and I can send that out there, and it's going to make a mark right there where that is, or very, very close. So that's what I use it for. And you can see the mark. That's what I use it for. It's not to be 100% exact. It's so that if I'm needing to try to use materials, scraps, or whatever, see that this is kind of pushing it right here. If this works, I'll be actually pleasantly surprised. So just kind of try to pick some of these little pieces here for stuff. Oh, that actually worked really well. So I can go over here to this, turn that layer off, and you can see the camera in enclosure Zilla is very accurate. But like I said, guys, like Steve said, the bed in my enclosure goes up and down to focus the machine. It's not that the head doesn't move, the bed goes up and down. So therefore, once I calibrate my camera on top of a piece of 4.5 millimeter material, it's accurate no matter what I put in there. So there you go. That is, but like I said, that is the most accurate camera setup I've seen on a Lightburn machine, and that's just custom built enclosure.
Yeah. So the ones I've had best luck with on are probably the Lasermatic. As far as just stock machines that have them in there, the Lasermatic and the actually the P3 from Acemer. When I got that one worked really well as well. But it can be hit or miss, and you do want to spend some time calibrating it. Sometimes if you're getting bad calibration, play with your light, because sometimes that's if you got too much light. You might need to tone that down a bit, because it might be blowing out the contrast to that kind of little circle pattern on that piece of paper. So there's some tricks to play around with it, but yeah, like I say, if it's, trust it to a point, but if it's on some small item that you gotta get exact, you're gonna want to be probably playing with some framing and some jigs to help align it.
All right, so we were talking about pre-finished materials. That's what I fired that machine up for. See, this is like traditionally, if this was not pre-finished, there's your soot, right? That's built up on the machine, on the material. But either if you use pre-finished material, or if you finish your own material. Now I'm just gonna take some rubbing alcohol, and I use rubbing alcohol because it evaporates quick. It doesn't absorb into the wood and add moisture content to it and make it do weird stuff. So that's why I use it. So I just take a little rubbing alcohol, spray it, and literally you can like start seeing the stuff run. And then wipe it off. And there you go. So finishing your material, whether you do it, with some 2X Rust-Oleum, or whether you buy it pre-finished, goes a long way as far as job cleanup, especially if you're trying to get that smooth finish like that.
I would highly recommend a spray-on finish if you're going to pre-do it, because otherwise you risk getting very in depth. So.
Yeah, I use the 2X. That's why I was saying I'd use that the spray on now. Now, keep in mind, once you put some kind of clear coat or something on here, when you engrave it, you're engraving that too. So take whatever precautions you need to, as far as, you don't want to set it on fire, because some paints are flammable, and you don't want to breathe all finishes. So use your own judgment, make your own decisions. But pre-finished material is worth a little extra money, because you can do that. Because if not, you've got to try to figure out how to sand this without messing up your engrave and all that. But with pre-finished, like at first I was like, I don't know pre-finished stuff. But after doing a couple of jobs and being able to just spray it and wipe it with a rag and not have to sit here and, throw every other one away because it's too stained or whatever, it was worth it. Yeah. So and then like the edges, just wipe them with a rag, and you end up with nice color. So there you go. That is the advantage of pre-finished material. Just thought I'd share that with you.
Well, Dave Goshi is asking, I have the D1 Pro 10 watt and a 20 watt module. Can you tell me if it's worth getting the IR module for that, or invest in the F1 to engrave metal? Well, first off, depends on if you can find the IR module for that. Those are getting harder to find as they've started to discontinue that stuff. Really, it's going to come down to what you're planning to do. If you add it to your D1, you're going to have a larger working area, but keep in mind that that's a fine point, and larger projects are going to take a fair amount of time. So if you're doing this as a hobby and you just want to add it to the mix, it's probably cheaper to do it that way than to spend the money on the F1. If you're doing it as a business, you might want to think about productivity and portability. The big thing that we say about the F1 is it is kind of the king for portable engraving. and the original F1 with both the IR and the blue gives you that flexibility to be able to engrave a lot of materials on site in a fairly safe manner. So that's where a lot of the benefit of the F1 comes out. But if you want kind of flexibility and, maybe a little lower cost to purchase it and, the larger size, that's where the, being able to add it to your gantry machine like the D1 is probably going to win out. Yeah. They're both going to have basically the same effect. The F1 might be faster at certain things because the Galvo can move around quicker than the gantry. But there again, if you're doing it as a hobbyist, the D1 gives you more flexibility. If you're doing it as a business, the productivity and the flexibility of the F1 might be attractive.
Yeah, the only thing that I see that could be a big determinant factor is figure out what it is you want in the hour for. If you're wanting to do the car tags like I do that are too big for the F1, then you may want to go with the D1 or something like that. But I agree with Steve. I think as far as being able to make money and the versatility of products, if you can swing it, I probably would just try to get the F1 because it's gonna bring a lot to the table as far as your laser engraving capabilities. It's also the F1 is actually really good with tumblers if you already have a rotary and everything that you can plug into it. It would do a good job with tumblers and glass and wine glasses and things like that. So the only hang up would be if you're wanting to do things that are bigger than what the F1 is capable of. So, well. Yep. Hamilton says, what a cool setup y'all have to be able to show things off on the live so quickly. Awesome job on making all this look so easy. Hey, Hamilton, you should have seen some of the early videos where we were like, but now actually, yeah, I got a camera over here in my enclosure Zilla, which is powered off right now, so you can't see it. I got one over here in my other enclosure where the A70 lives. I've got the actual overhead camera behind me that I can show you guys if I'm working on something on the table. Then I've got the eye in the sky over in the corner of the shop so you can see most of the shop. And I have my little focus camera that I can show you. The X-Tool P2 is back on the bench over here. I had to wait for somebody to show up with a good strong back, but I got some help today and was able to put it back in place. And I'm using that new assist fan that they sell, even though mine is an old P2. It doesn't work automatic on my antique P2 that I have, but
antique.
But I mounted it so that the button is right behind it, so I can just reach over the top of the machine and turn it on. It is a good fan to have when you have the riser, because that riser, if you don't have a stronger fan, it tends to allow some seepage. So it's just doing a lot better with this assist fan on here now.
Yeah.
I should have took the other fan out while I had it off of the table, but I didn't.
Yeah. We've what is this, number 117, I think, or 118? So we've had quite a few shows to tweak things over a couple of years plus of doing this, and I'm always jumping from office to shop to shop. So
you've got 3 different locations set up.
Yeah, but yeah, we enjoy it, and a lot of this has come out of just trying to be in to help people kind of on the spot, on the live, do some demonstration, show things in Lightburn or Vectric, or pop the laser camera in. Of course, Clack's gone a little overboard with his 25 USB hubs.
Hey, I've got so many hubs in here. I done added USB cards to my machine. It's just unreal.
Yeah.
But it does make it easy for me when I'm doing this stuff. I almost forgot. I also have another face cam over here. That camera's over to the side right there. Yeah. So yeah, it's just, hey, I'm a nerd. What can I say? But I got to get me a new computer. This computer that I'm running is old, and you can see it stutter when I swap cameras. It's pushing it to the max.
It's been put through a bit.
But appreciate it, Hamilton. That hey, somebody like Hamilton, you got a good following. That's good. Maybe we're doing something right anyway.
Let's see here. There was another one that was a question about. Oh, here we go. Maybe you can help out in this one. Jeffrey Lapierre has been doing some troubleshooting on the Ohmtech Polar 55. Now when I launch Lightburn, it doesn't show material thickness. Do you know where this setting might be? You familiar with that?
Material thickness? Are we talking about in the library? Because in the library, if you're talking about a material, because the only place that any kind of material thickness would be in a material library. So if it doesn't show a thickness, typically that means it is an engraving power only. It's not intended for cutting. If it's a cutting setting, typically that's when it'll have the thickness in there for the settings, and I can show you that. But yeah, that's what. Like this matter of fact, this is my Polar right here. So like over here, like Apple AirTags. Okay, obviously I'm not cutting any Apple AirTags. So when you click on this, there's not going to be a thickness on the library. Whereas like bamboo cutting boards, I don't cut those either. So there's no thickness. But if you go to basswood, you're going to have a thickness there because that is a cut setting. So that's where the difference, like birch, that's 4.7 millimeter. That is a cut setting. So typically cardboard, 3 millimeter, it's a cut setting. Coated tumbler, obviously we're not cutting coated tumbler, so there's not going to be a thickness there either. That's the only place I could think of anywhere in Lightburn that there is a thickness setting. And say like this is 6.35 millimeter oak. That's a cut setting. So that's the 6.35 millimeter poplar. So that's the only thing. If you're not seeing, like when you click on something, if you're not seeing a thickness right here, that just means that there's only engraved settings in there. It's not intended for cutting. So I hope that's what you were asking about, because that's the only place that I know of that thickness should be anywhere in the machine on Lightburn. So the old Polar, you had a Z focus adjust on the move page. Yeah, you still got the Polar still has a Z focus on the move. It's got a focus button, and you can raise and lower the Z axis. It has an active Z, but I'm not sure what that. Clarify. Make sure that answered your question, but I'm pretty sure that's. Pretty sure that was maybe that's what you were talking about.
Sure.
Oh, there you go. There's your one. Trade Skillers. What's up? Again, he's got a question for you. Says Steve, did you get to test out the Omni yet? If so, initial thoughts. I can tell you the answer. I don't know. I can tell you the answer. He has it.
So yeah, no. Other than the initial tests before I left for Workbench Con. It's set up on my assembly table out in the shop. I have it ready. I just need to get my laptop back out there. But so I left. We did this live stream from Clack's house last Sunday. And then I crashed at his place. Then got up early. He went to work. I got on the road, and with the winter storm that was coming through the center of the U.S. and going to hit us, I didn't want to. I wanted to push through, see if I can get as close to home as I could. Actually made it all the way home by like 1 a.m. So it was 1,100 miles. Got home really early Tuesday morning. Slept for a few hours, kind of unloaded some things. And then Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, we got the snowstorm. So had to work that day dealing with snow. That's when that was probably part of it. I got teenage boys and everything, and everybody kind of pitched in shoveling. I was trying to clear the rest of this stuff. I got really tired, and then the next day I woke up just feeling like Clack got me sick. So no, I haven't been able to get out to the shop since I got back to work with that. But finally starting to feel better today. Hoping that I'm finishing up a video on some synthetic leather keychains tonight, and so hopefully tomorrow I can start doing some more playing, unless I regress in this illness.
Sharon says that cameras are my glue.
Yeah.
And for those of you that don't know, Steve has a glue fetish. Like he can't stand it if there's a glue he doesn't have. So he's like kind of like Baskin Robbins. He's got like 160 flavors of glue.
Hey,
So
there's 31 flavors, one for every day. I used to work there. It's my job in high school, my senior year of high school.
Somebody else says I got more cameras than Channel 4 News. Craig's asking, what's the size of your shop? Too small. It is 20 foot. It is 20 foot from where this camera is mounted to that wall over there is 20 foot. And from the front door to the back is 24 foot. So it's a 20 by 24. And then somebody else is asking, which camera was that you used in today's CNC video? It was the size of a GoPro. It's actually much, much smaller than a GoPro. It's this guy. And this is actually the battery for it down here, this part here. So this is actually the camera right there. And the cool thing about it is this is just the camera. So if I wanted to, like y'all, when y'all see my camera inside the enclosure and you're like, how in the world did you get a camera in there? It's because it's only like 1.5 inches tall. So this is the mount that I use to mount it places if I need to, but it's magnetic. So like it sticks to this little base right here. Like it literally sticks. Like if I could, I don't want to drop it, but it just snaps to it. And it's got these little teeth that hold it in place. So just like with the battery, once you get them close enough together, they like snap together. It's a DJI camera and it is handy as all get out. It runs on a SD card. So I have an SD card that goes in and out of it right here in the bottom. And so I can just dump the video. So I use this to do all my B-roll now. It also has image stabilization. So I can literally do it like this and the picture stays stable. So, but yeah, that's it. And then I use this for the CNC and just miscellaneous places. But you can also, like if it's on a honeycomb or something, you can also, I don't want to drop it. You can also just stick it to a honeycomb or underneath the lid. It'll actually flip the camera if you turn it upside down. So I can stick this thing about anywhere. Now, if it's like on the tractor or something, I use my little mount. It's not, the magnet's not that strong. So what was you going to show, Steve? I'm pretty sure I know. I'm pretty sure I know what you're going to show.
What was I going to show?
Yeah, you got one just like it, don't you?
Well, I've got that one. I don't have it here, but I've still got a GoPro Hero 5.
Ooh, I don't have a 5.
And then it has these little Joby pods that are with the little flexible things. These are real handy for, putting it places and such. But yeah, that little I've got that one that you were just showing as well. And that magnetic feature is really nice.
Don't get me started now.
Yeah, I've got my other GoPro somewhere else too. Camera junkies over time. I mean, I've used them both for this as well as my other hobby of model airplanes. So.
Well, I will say though, out of all the cameras that I've bought, I think this one, other than my main Sony, this one I use more than anything now. That magnetic part is just handy. And it's also got a little thing that you can put on your shirt, like magnetically attach it. So it's pretty neat.
Yeah, it just gets warm.
Yeah, and the battery don't last too god awful long.
And the battery, that's my downfalls of that one. My other GoPro, I've got this nice bundle of batteries as well, and this little charger. So, yeah. But anyway, now we're getting into weird gear.
we should do a camera glue session one day.
Well, does that mean I got to start pulling out all the cameras?
Hey, you're probably like me. I've got them laying everywhere. Well,
yeah. My having a wife that's a hobby photographer, and I used to do a lot of photography for the magazines and such. Yeah, we've got a lot of stuff around here. Half of our laundry room is a dark room. So
yeah, the Polars do have this focus button right here on the move screen. But now when you go into the device settings, there's also this little button that you have to click right here. It says it's an OhmTech Polar. Not real sure what that does, but that may be what's responsible for that showing up. So maybe that helps. But yeah, it's a lot of buttons on that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, wasn't the intention, but it's and hopefully it's not collecting too much dust.
Well,
It's
Steve,
still
I'll
clean.
let you take this one because you've probably got the best method approach that I've seen on doing glass with a diode with your little which I bought one of those too. I blame
Sure.
Steve for a lot of my Amazon purchases. But
Alright.
I'll let you explain how you did.
Uh, yeah, so I did a video using the X Tool S1, which is going to be similar to the We Create, just the power settings are going to be different. But so if you want to engrave, put a frosting on the glass and engrave it, you got to use some sort of like a binder, and so that's going to be a dark layer that's on the glass that's going to interact with the laser beam. So I use tempera paint and I use a little airbrush. I have to thin the paint down a little bit, and that's going to vary from airbrush to airbrush how much, but it's usually about 50-50 ish. Yeah. And then just spray that on in light coats. So it's the first coat, you're not going to get on solid opaque. You're going to put a light dusting on, let it dry. Tempera paint dries pretty quick, but if you got like a fan or a not too hot of a heat gun, you can accelerate that. And about 3 or so coats, it should be nice and even and dark. And from there, you just got to play with your settings. I'd have to go back and look and see what mine were on the that job, which I could probably do in a little bit. But from there, again, you might want to defocus it just a little bit. I defocused, I think, about 1/8 of an inch, or about 3 millimeters. It just helps it not be quite so harsh, gives it a little less of a fracturing to it, a little more of a frosting. And then you set up your speed and your power from that, and engrave like you would any other material. Now, a lot of people like to invert it and actually have the image on the backside so that your show face is clean glass. It's easier to clean and whatnot, but just kind of depends on your project.
Yes.
Another thing, I haven't tested this yet. It's for a future project. There's this glass pen, and so this is supposed to wipe off with water, but it's like at an auto dealer when they might mark on the screen, they have like these in different colors. This one is black, so it's like a liquid chalk marker. So I am going to test this at some point, see how well it does, see if I can get a smooth coating on there, because it might be a easier option than the airbrush, although it's probably a little more expensive over time depending on how much this lasts. But basically, you're looking for some sort of binder like that. You can use some of these others. You could use Surmark and such. It's a little more expensive. Some people like to use a chalk spray paint. My problem with that is you got to use like a chemical to clean it off, and I like just being able to wipe it off with water or something like that in a rag.
Yeah, you could use like regular paint, like sure enough,
Yeah.
spray paint. But then you've got to get the paint off after you're done. Yeah, you can use. They make those films like the little cling wrap, like black films. Like Steve said, I've heard people using Sharpies, those paint pens. I mean, you just have to have something on that material that the laser can interact with to generate heat. That's the game. The hard part is making it be consistent. That's where it gets tricky. Is you don't want a thick spot, a thin spot, a thick spot, a thin spot, because that's going to show in the resulting engrave if you do. So,
Yep.
yeah, it's tricky. But me and Steve both have videos about doing glass, different mediums on there. But I think Steve probably has the best approach if you've never done it before. I think that would be a really good approach to start learning to do it that way. That's why I bought that airbrush gun. I haven't used it yet. So,
yep. Some people will apply it with like a foam brush or whatnot, but it's hard to get it as consistent. Spraying on is so much better.
yeah.
So,
well, I tried that with the paint with the little
Yeah.
foam brush, and it wound up with dark and light spots, and so that's why I was like, that ain't working. So
JJ Outdoors is asking you, Clack, how do you like your DeWalt job site saw? Debating between the DeWalt job site or the Delta Contractor hybrid saw.
well, in my tight little space that I have, it suits me well for what I do. I don't use a table saw as much, partially because I don't have a big table saw. If I had a big table saw, I think I would use it more for like breaking down my plywood and stuff like that. But for what I do, it works economically speaking. It it is what it is. Uh, it's it's not going to be as accurate as like one of the big cast iron stand up saws. So if you're wanting to do things like cutting boards where you're having to do a lot of glue ups and stuff like that, this saw may not be what you want to get. I'm not saying you can't do it with it. I got a buddy of mine that's got a cheaper version, and he makes some of the most awesome cutting boards you've ever seen, and he does glue ups, and they're perfect. I think he just got lucky when it came to the DeWalt's, but he makes really good cutting boards with the saw he has. But if that's something that you're looking for, then I would probably try to spend a little more money and get something a little nicer if you could. But at the time I bought this guy, there wasn't any option. It was just, this was the cream of the crop that I could afford. And so that's what I got. And it served me really well. I've made a whole bunch of stove covers with it. It's paid for itself time over. And again, I've never had any problems with it. I've ran a dado stack on it and everything. It is the bigger of the two. I think DeWalt has 2 job site saws that they sell. This is the bigger one of the 2 because I knew I wasn't going to be toting it around or anything. But I'm happy with it. But I would really love to have and I've told my wife when I get a big enough shop to where I can like put it in the middle of the room like a piece of furniture, because that's what it's going to be. I want to save up and get me like a cast iron top, 4 foot by 4 foot table saw. That's what I'd love to have. It doesn't have to be a saw stop or anything like that. I don't care if it's a 1960s model that I'm going to clean up and rebuild. I want me a nice, precise table saw.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you can do a lot with those smaller job site saws. And yeah, I can attest to the having had a few of the bigger hybrid saws and now my saw stop, it becomes kind of the center point of your shop. Now you can create all sorts of table saw jigs and fixtures and such that I don't have a compound miter saw or a chop saw right now. I have my table saw, I have a track saw, and then short of if I had to do a lot of like trim and molding, that's where I would probably purchase another compound miter saw. I can do everything I need with that, actually more accurately with my table saw that way, but it's kind of the center point of my shop because everything kind of works around it. But yeah, it is nice. Easier to break down larger material, easy to set up, like you say, ripping cuts of hardwood for various things. So if you're constrained, or if you've got space constraints like you've got, you can still do a lot of that with those job site saws. But like you did, you've kind of set it up in a table, gives you a little bit more working area.
Yeah, for what I do, it works. Some folks, because you see where my miter saw is, some folks, depending on what you're trying to cut, there's not enough room around the saw to be able to do it. And that's why I can't use it to break down plywood. But the number one thing that I use that table saw for on a weekly basis is those stove covers. And so as long as I can do them with it, I'm good, for now. When I get my bigger shop, I will get me a bigger table saw. But till then, like I said, it's done me a good job. So, and I've got that, like I said, everything's on wheels right there. I can roll that whole table and move it if I need to, which when I get my new shop, I can also take and open the door, reach in there with my tractor with the forks and pick that whole table up and take it up to the new shop. So yeah, that's the plan. It is coming down out there. I can hear it
but definitely, I mean, take a look at, look at some of those older ones, older, like Bobby's mentioning, an older 70s era Powermatic or an older Delta Unisaw. Those things are tanks. They can be really great. Now you might need a forklift to move them, but yeah, if you know what you're looking for, and that's the key is, anytime you're buying a used tool, you if you know what to look for to know if it's in good shape or not. There's usually some good deals to be had out there. You don't necessarily have to, spend brand new money on tools to get started. A lot of good used stuff out there to get you along the way, or try something out.
Let's see. Somebody is asking.
Looking for the links for the camera and such.
Yeah. I thought I had it in there. I'll go ahead and add the camera to my video streaming list if it wasn't already. There's the camera. Now, there's accessories that come with it. That's the base kit that I bought. It comes with the little ball mount, the necklace thing that you use to put it around your neck, and then that action magnet mount, like this little part right here that goes on to this. It's just this little part right here comes with the camera. This is actually a small rig clamp that I've got right here. This clamp does not come with it. It's just this little, just that little part right there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
there's a question. Doing the first farmers market this Saturday, taking Clark's advice and having lots of smaller objects to sell, keychains, pens, dog tags, as well as cutting boards, tumblers, etc. Any other tips? Well, our biggest tip, and Hamilton, if he's still here or he was in here earlier, also had a video similar on this selling. Couple tips. If you can bring some help, whether you got to pay them, bribe them, kidnap them,
buy them lunch,
having someone there just to help keep an eye on things or maybe be able to answer questions is going to be huge. Second thing is bring a chair because you're going to get tired. But if you're just going to sit in your chair and wait for customers to come to you, you're going to sell a lot less than being engaging with customers. You sell yourself as the maker, and then they're going to want to buy something from you. You got to have some things that pull them to your booth. But when they come to your booth, make eye contact, engage with them, greet them. Don't be too creepy or pushy about it, but be welcoming, be engaging with them so that they, they'll want to stick around, they want to get to know you, and then they'll probably want to buy something. So those are kind of the biggest things I can say about selling. I mean, yes, you got to have some things that they're going to want, but if you aren't engaging with them, it's going to be a lot harder to get those sales.
Yeah, that's the one thing I will say. The customer that you let walk past your booth without acknowledging them, speaking to them, making eye contact with them, they're definitely not going to come to your booth. A lot of people, when you speak to them or go, hey, how are you today? Or, hey, how's it going? Or whatever, they almost feel obligated to come over and look at your stuff. Are they going to buy? Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? But some of those people are, those little icebreaker moments, a lot of times will have people come to your booth. They may have walked past 10 other booths that sell the same things that you sell, but because you spoke to them and showed interest in them, they're going to come to your booth and spend their money.
Ooh, can you hear that one?
And the thunder rolls. Yeah, we get a lot of that here. So that's the biggest thing is be engaging. Be that person that's happy. Don't be sitting over. Don't be like I tell people all the time, like, because Klein, he comes and helps me at events. If you walk by a booth and somebody's sitting there like this, you're just going to keep walking. You know what I mean? And it's tough, especially somebody that gets constant messages all day long. It's hard for me to just make myself put that phone down and pay attention to people as they walk by because, y'all guys are messaging me, Steve's poking fun at me or whatever. Emails are going off, alerts, people going live. It's very distracting. But if there's anything I can say is just put the phone away and pay attention to people because you may only get that one glance your direction. And if you don't engage them, they're going to keep walking. So.
See, that's usually my trick to get people to leave me alone at big events or something. I'll just sit there and be like, oh, I'm busy on my phone.
Yeah. Well, me and you actually talked about that at an event that we went to recently together. And we were like, yeah, that one there's not going to be selling a whole lot of stuff because they were just sitting behind. I mean, two people now, and they're like facing each other, sitting there doing this on their phones. And me and Steve walked by. So, first impressions and the energy that you bring to the encounter is gonna be definitely a big thing.
Yeah. Be engaging, but not too aggressive. Greet them, say hi, give them a chance to,
Steve,
do something. Yeah. But
you want to share your airbrush because I haven't really got to test mine yet. I don't. I think I ordered the same one that you got, but I'm not sure.
No, because you got a battery operated one.
Oh, is yours different?
Yeah. Mine uses a little air pump. Mine's like 20 years old.
Well, I don't know. We can do both, and y'all can just decide which one you want. I have not tested the one that I have, so I don't want you thinking, oh, Clack said it's a good one. I bought it because I was like, next job I get to where I need it, I'm gonna use it.
Okay.
And I just haven't had a job come in that I needed it on yet.
All right. So the one I use is from a company. They've been around forever, and the beautiful thing is that if you have like a Michael's or a Hobby Lobby near you, they might actually have like the parts for it.
Well,
but you do need to have an air pump. You do need to have an air pump for this one. So I'll share that link out there.
Yeah, this one's not available anymore, but I don't think I paid but like $15 for it. So
yeah.
So it's a good thing I wasn't sharing mine.
So that's the thing about the one I shared is it does need to have like a airbrush pump or an air compressor with a moisture trap, things like that on it. So if you have a little compressor, things like that, the Posh one that I linked out, it's about $70, comes with a couple of tips. But like I said, I've been using mine for 20 years. It's a great little airbrush. They continue to make it. It's fairly simple to use, single action. So you're just controlling the airflow. And you just got to make sure you clean it up each time. So,
yeah, see, the one that I bought is already off the shelf. So that's not a good sign. Ooh. Paint can't start falling off a wall, it's really close.
But yeah, I do. I do need to look at some of the little battery operated ones. I think a friend of mine bought one recently. I'll have to ask him how that one went. But I've used this one with just rubbing alcohol to test it. Yeah,
and cleaned it out when I first got it, and it sprays fine. It's got the flow control as well as the air control. It does okay, but I haven't actually painted anything with it. I just did, like I said, I put a little rubbing alcohol in there just to clean it out on the inside, make sure it worked.
Sure. Yeah, I used to have it sounds like a double action. I used to have one. It was an Aztec from Testers. I don't think they exist or make them anymore, but that's a whole other area you can dive down into with airbrushes and such. But
yeah. Burn Carfrit said, wow, I think I just saw that back wall move.
Yeah.
It probably did. Like, seriously, that thunder sometimes will knock stuff off the wall. That's why every time it does it, y'all see me looking around, looking to see if anything's falling. But see, what was it I was fixing to say? Oh, I got my notice the other day that supposedly I'm getting a new machine in, but I got two of them coming. So, and I got it in fire truck red. They asked me if I wanted it in black or red. They had two different colors.
Okay, gotcha.
So I got red.
Yeah,
they haven't released it officially yet, but we'll be having that come up pretty soon. I also have me a new rotary, the new swivel rotary from X-Tool. I got that coming. I'll be testing it with my. I'm trying to get my P2 set up to be my tumbler machine, but we'll see. We'll see how that works out. Last time I tried the P2, I wasn't crazy about it, but I've gotten a little more used to that, the way it works in XCS as far as that line and all that rotation and stuff. So I'm going to try it again, see if I like it better now.
I keep waiting to see if Momport's actually going to come out with their Reno specific rotary, because that one might be interesting for that. But
yeah. But I want a CO2 to do tumblers with. I mean, I love my S1. It does a great job. But to be honest, that and which I got another project coming up for the screen printer. My wife wants to screen print some sashes. I don't know what a sash is used for exactly, but she's got it tied to a reef. So she's wanting to put like a letter on the sashes. So if I'm able this coming up week, I'm not going to be able to go to work because of the meds and stuff, but hopefully I'll be able to get out here and do a video of the screen printer also with, I guess, the S1. I don't know that I can use the P2 for it.
I mean, I can tell you what I know a sash is, but what I've learned that a toboggan is a completely different idea of what I know it is up here. So,
yeah, that's true. Oh.
Yeah, and not to forget that Clack gets all the toys now.
No, I don't. I just saw that they had the swivel on the RA2, and that's always been my complaint about that thing was, you had to scotch it up or make a step gauge for it to get it to tilt. I'm like, how hard was that to be to fix? And they actually fixed it.
There's that and the fire engine red machine of sorts you're getting.
It's this little guy right here.
Well, there you go.
This little guy right there. It's not listed on their website. So I didn't really want to say anything about it, but then I realized they're posting pictures of it. So it can't be classified. I haven't signed an NDA or anything. So it's right there, but it's not like you can't buy it, but they've got pictures of it on their site already. So yeah. So we're going to see. They've actually released a couple of videos of the little thing. It's called a Pixie. Sounds like something Steve would name it, but whatever.
What? Oh, wow. What are you insinuating there?
I'm just saying. Oh.
Not named my anything even close to a Pixie.
Oh, you never know. But no, I'm gonna try that thing out. But I told him that the only way I would do it is if I get two of them. And I really don't need either one. So we're gonna have some fun with the one. And then the other one will probably be seen in the members area before it's over with. Belts.
Robert's asking any updates on Liper and CNC. Last thing we heard when they were at Workbench Con, we got to see it in operation running a small Genmitsu or whatever. They said very soon.
Very soon.
That's as detailed as they'd get for us.
Yeah, that's all we got. And it was operating a 3018. I don't know what brand 3018, but it was operating a 3018. Now, the project that they were doing, I wasn't real fired up about the way it looked, but it did move the machine. So I'm pretty sure they had one of their programmers running the machine. So, but it did move the machine.
Yeah. So we're waiting to hear anything more, just as you are. If we do hear, we'll pass it on. But I know a lot of people are excited to see that. But
I'd be curious to see it.
Yeah,
just waiting, just hiding and waiting.
Yep.
All right. So questions, comments, or concerns, guys? I can't be on here late tonight because I have surgery in the morning. Hopefully that goes well, and this pain that is running down my leg will no longer be with me next week. That's what I'm hoping for anyway. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. So I can't stay on here all night tonight. I got to get some sleep because I got to be there bright and early. Yeah.
Well, hopefully that goes well and the recovery doesn't last 205 days.
Yeah. Hopefully not. Yeah, Robbie, that's the I guess they call it the Supreme or this whatever kit. I don't know if they're sending me the whole rotary with all the parts on it or just the parts, but one of the two. I will have a RA2 that swivels one way or the other.
Yeah. Chuck, yeah, we've done some videos and talked about it in the past. Both of us like our bamboo printers for being, basically set it up and let it rock. I've only had a couple of issues, and those have always been come back to. Usually, it's filament that needs to be dried. It's been out too long because I do things like this, leave them sitting on the spools out in the open air. But yeah, it's been working well. Actually, I got to fire it up. I need to make a shroud, a shroud for the Omni One, so I can pull the fumes and debris away from that one. So both of us have some videos on it. I need a different one. Both of us have some videos on it, so if you want to see a little bit more about them, check them out. I've got a couple Tinkercad videos on making some stuff for that. So
cool.
A lot of people say they'll be hoping you feel better and get better, or I feel better that you recover soon.
I'm just hoping that you quit catching everything that comes around. Starting to wonder where you hang out at when you're not in your shop.
Hey, this year only gotten sick after seeing you. That's all I'm saying. Spend time with Clark, get sick. I guess that's my penance.
I'm just glad you're not getting me sick because that would suck.
Well, yeah,
I've already had enough surgeries. I don't need.
I don't know who you got to deal with, but
I don't need. Maybe it's all these antibiotics and everything they keep pumping me with every time I have surgery.
Yeah, you keep going there. Yeah. Yeah, I guess maybe I need to have more surgeries.
I don't know. I don't recommend it. It's not fun.
No, well.
So I had a guy come in to pick up those pizzas that I made, and he was talking to me. And he's I think he said he's 45, and I see him in town all the time running. And I told him, I said, "Man, you're doing pretty good in there doing all that running that you're still doing," because he was saying he was 45. He said, "Yeah, but it's starting to hurt." He said, "Every year," and I'm like, "And it does." I was like, when I was 45, I was out there running 2 or 3 mile dog tracks. Jason, me and Max was out there running through the woods, and it just, man, it hit me. It hit me quick. So yeah. Hopefully I can slow down and quit getting hurt, which I say that. I was connecting this fan over here and had my little two-step stool out. And I forgot that I was on the second step. I thought I was on the first step, and I went to step back off of it. Yeah, that almost got bad.
I like to call that an accommodation device for short people.
Okay. If you say so. But I forgot I was on the second step. Whew. So that first step was a doozy.
Yeah, that'll jar some things. So,
all right. Well, I appreciate the celebrities stopping in tonight. So we had Cody in here with us tonight. We had Mr. Ryan Ballard in here tonight. And then we had oh my gosh,
Hamilton.
Hamilton Dilbeck in here. So I mean, it's been a star-studded night at the Clack Shack tonight. So good to see you guys, and good to see everybody that came out. And like I said, and I appreciate the well wishes and stuff like that. I'm just glad Steve didn't get me sick while he was down here. So,
well, I wish you'd stop getting me sick whenever I come to hang out with you.
I'll let you sign us off, Steve.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for hanging out with us another Sunday night. We'll be back at this again next week, barring craziness. But we've been going 118 weeks straight. Don't plan on letting that streak break. If you haven't subscribed to either one of us, links are down below and in the description. We appreciate your support and checking out the channels and showing some love that way. We do this, but we also do project videos. We do product reviews, and around a lot with lasers, a lot more with CNCs, some with 3D printers and such, but sometimes just general workshop stuff. So that's what we do. There's also a link down below to our laser engraving community. It's a Facebook group that if you want to catch up with us and others throughout the week, or maybe share a project that you're proud of, or have a question on something that pictures help with, that's a great way to do that as well. And there's a link to our laser engraving community map. It's a Google map. That reminds me, I got to go and update that. There's a form. You can drop your business name or your screen name or whatever you want, and then like a city, state, or something that shows where you're at. We kind of use that to see where everybody's at in case we're traveling around. So lots of fun stuff to check out down there. But both of us should, well, you're going to be kind of out of it for a few days, but I know
I'm hoping.
I know I've got some content coming out. I'll probably, I got to finish up some stuff tonight, so I'll probably release it tomorrow morning, but that's on that keychain video. And then I'll be working on that Omni 1 and some other stuff. So look forward to that in this coming week. And yeah, other than that, thanks for all the support, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah. Like I said, Bobby's talking about be careful, run into the house. That's one thing I don't do a lot of these days, especially with the knee and the back and everything. I don't do a lot of running. But yeah, appreciate you guys. And like I said, just feel free to do all that stuff Steve said.
All right, everyone. We'll see you.